Welcome to the music podcast. I have a very, very special guest. And we always say on here, great music deserves great conversation. And firstly, I want to say thank you on behalf of everyone else who listens to your music, because the feeling that comes over me when I hear it is incredible. It just makes me feel like I can't even describe it any more than that. It is approaching Jupiter. How are you today?
Doing really good, man. Super happy to be here.
Your latest track I was listening to when I woke up this morning, Screwed, and I was like, wow, like fitting the scene on a lovely day like this. It was stunning, really. So I want to come right back to the start. I want to uncover your roots, your early influences. Tell me about the first song you ever wrote. What was it called? What inspired it, and how do you feel about it now?
Oh man. Well, I've written songs for a long time. So the actual first song I ever written has probably been lost to time. It was probably the worst thing ever made in like the 5th grade. But the first song that I ever put out that was mine was a song called You Saved Me. And it's very different from Screwed. It was kind of at the time I was still in university for music. That's what I studied. And it was sort of a proving to myself that I can finish a song, get it out. It was the first one that I had done everything for. Like I wrote it, I produced it, I mixed it, I mastered it. And that was the first time I'd done that. And so that one to me is special in that regard. It yeah, I think it was one of the better songs that I'd written at the time, which is what made it come out, but I still like it. It's mix wise and stuff like that. Technically, arranging wise, I've gotten so much better as a producer and an artist since then. But I still like it. It's all the photos as well from the early things that I started releasing back in, gosh, I don't know, 2022 or so, were all photos that I took from my apartment. Like it was a taken on a Canon T70, I think, like just a film camera, and got it developed and and used that one for it. But
I love that. And that's amazing to kind of hear, because I feel like when I speak to artists, it's either they love it or they hate their first song. But yeah, it's really like in the middle. But it's nice to live out with for memories. So who was your hero growing up? How did that shape the music that you produce now, especially with a new single as well?
yeah, I had a few. I've thought about this timeline quite a bit actually. Like when I was really little, I listened to actually AC/DC a ton. And that was what my dad listened to. So every time we drive in the car, it was AC/DC all the time. That and, other early rock bands like Nazareth, and there's a Canadian band called the Stampeders. So a lot of that early classic rock is in there. And then as I kind of grew up a bit more, especially into junior high, Owl City was actually huge for me, which is kind of funny. Everyone, Fireflies and whatnot. But I listened to like every song. Like I've listened to every song by
I
them.
remember Fireflies like being like Bluetooth over to my phone and being like
Yeah.
it was like the hit of the summer.
Yeah, it was like something I'd never heard of. Like I didn't hear music like that until then. Like I hadn't been introduced to synths like that until, till then. I remember hearing it on like in Canada we have the Family Channel, or we had that. It was like Disney's, you know, TV broadcast to kids, and they put music on there, and that was one. And I was just like so encapsulated by it. But then time would go on, and then kind of by high school, the biggest influence for me was John Bellion, who is coming out with a new album very soon, which is awesome. But those were kind of the big staples, and John Bellion's music is probably inspired me most as a creative, whereas I would say like the early rock stuff and then Owl City like bringing the synth stuff, that's totally shaped like my music. And then now the band Camino is my biggest influence, like by far. And I think they're like, to me they're like the perfect blend of like pop stuff with rock and that synth production, everything that's like really inspired to me. Everything they do I just love. And so that's probably my timeline.
I love that. A great way to put it. Can you describe the feeling you first had when one of your songs hit 10K? Because I feel like a lot of our listeners here will look at some of your streaming numbers, which are amazing because they're brilliant songs. 40,000 raw. I feel like for a lot of independent artists, that 10K mark is a big thing. So even maybe 1,000, like before it was under the 1,000. So does that something that means anything to you, or is it kind of like, Josh, I don't do it for that. It doesn't, I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
I just want to understand, like, in your mind as an artist and producer, is it something that you care about?
Yeah, I think as people that make art, for the most part, that's we would be doing it anyways. Like I would be doing it anyways. If no one listened, I would be making anyways. And for the longest time, that's what it was. Like I just made songs, wrote songs, and they lived on a hard drive, you know. But I think the first time the first song actually You Saved Me, I feel like all I did promotion wise was like some Submit Hub stuff, and it was like a very tiny campaign. Didn't do any pre-saves, anything, and it managed to break like 2 or 3K, which was like I know a lot of artists don't even, like you said, like even passing the 1K mark can be a really big milestone. So I was kind of grateful for that. And the first song that passed 10K, I think, was one that had label support as well. Like for a while, I did some just top line work for other producers. Like I have two songs in my discography. I think Believe and Ignite You are ones that I just sang over. Like I just wrote the top line for, and so some of those did better. But what's really exciting about them, or what's the goal in my growth as far as analytics are concerned, is consistency more than anything else. Like the last two songs I've had now have like in developing a marketing plan and a release campaign and all that stuff, I've been able to now consistently go from, a few thousands, like in the thousands to the tens of thousands now. And that's like, that's more important or more cool to me than just what that number is, being able to repeat whatever you did. Like the nightmare scenario for me is you have a song that does like, that pops off and you get like millions of streams and you don't know how to replicate that. So that's sort of been my like plan with stuff. But it's always a good feeling when people do it, but they're also vanity numbers. Like, especially Spotify's being the one that, you know, has public analytics. That's where people promote to the most because, right, you're trying to just see it. But the actual turnaround of like real fans to, your monthly listeners or, how many streams a song get is not one to one, right? Like, you promote, you market, there's meta ads and there's, things like Submit Hub and whatnot that you use to get reach, but you got to like understand it's that. And the quality of the art isn't always just where the streams are right now.
Absolutely. Okay, and based on that, then, what's the most personal song you've ever written, and was it scary to share that with the world?
Yeah. Hmm. I'd probably say it was You Saved Me, maybe, because like I just wrote it from like a real place. A lot of times now, like I work on a lot of songs, and so part of me now sort of compartmentalizes stuff where it's like this is just what this song is in this place, right? Like if I'm working for a client and doing stuff, writing a song with them, I'm just in their world for a bit, or you know what I mean? It's just making that one self-existing song. So like Screwed is like not real, but in a way, right? I started it actually like for a client was how the first like production idea came, and then I ended up liking it. But uh, you know, probably You Save Me. Probably You Save Me.
So in terms of that, have you ever, is there one song that almost didn't make it onto a release? And do you look back on it with regret now, or you're like, oh, thank God I did?
Interesting. I don't know. I feel like if anything, maybe I have one the other way.
Mm.
Like I've been very picky and choosy. The song Fall Behind that's out, I got rushed out for reasons that were just at the time between client stuff and some things that were going on. And that's one I wish I had been able to just sit with longer because there's some things in my eyes that there's like fundamental just like issues of in the arrangement and in some of the decisions that were made. And so I mean I'm actually kind of remedying that in the EP or slash album that I'm working towards. I'm doing a new version of that song. But I don't know. I don't think I don't think I have one. I'm pretty happy with all the things, and I don't
In
it's the
terms,
most artist thing to like hate something, you change so much in a year and then you hate what you did last year.
Yeah.
In general, even fall behind, you just move forward.
I hear that all the time at artists. They get the fan favorite songs and they're taking it off of Spotify because it's not them and they're changing. And I quite like it. That's only a personal opinion when I can see an artist improve and change, but also
Totally right.
all the stuff. I really appreciate that. And my favorite artist ever is Arctic Monkeys, right? And you can still go on like their first ever SoundCloud releases, and I love it, and I love seeing
Hmm.
that you know evolve over time of their release and their music. In terms of obviously you've got your producing side, you work with a lot of other clients and songwriting, very talented man. But what strategy do you use when you hear a creative block?
Hmm. Well, I think one of the advantages I have in working on many things, obviously it can be a lot, but you can also go with what's working. Like if I'm trying to write something and it just isn't working, I'll switch, right? Like I'll like, all right, maybe I'll just go play stuff. Or, maybe I'll switch, I'll do something for a video or whatever else. But probably the biggest way out is honestly just like picking up the guitar and playing. Like if especially if I come to the studio and I'm like, all right, nothing's appealing to me. I don't feel like doing anything. I just start playing guitar and immediately like I get in the mood of doing something. Like just
Have you ever been nervous when like maybe you're working on with a big artist or there's a lot of pressure on a song. Can that help that pressure to be like, right, this needs to come out, I'm gonna keep going? Or is it really hard as a creative to have that pressure on you and be like, okay, I'm not in my best frame of mind to make something now?
yeah, definitely. I feel like the things that are hardest on me is when it's just like probably more volume necessary. Like if it's a big EP that needs to like go out, like a Christmas EP, for example, like last year that we did. There's things about it that I'm like, I would, if I could just have like another month with it, it would have been like, boom, maybe it's 15-20% better. But you can only do what you can in the time. There has been a few moments like, or a few projects that I've worked on that, especially early, were things that you were sending off to people, or you're pitching to stuff and you're like really hoping for this or that. But nowadays I think I try and take the pressure off because I naturally am a perfectionist, and then when you like feed into it, you can get consumed with that and start missing the forest for the trees and start like making wrong decisions and or over analyzing or over editing and just not doing what you normally would, and just treating it like anything else. So I think more and more I'm trying to do that. And even if you put a song out and it's if you give it the time it needs and then it comes out, and if it's not the next best song you've ever made, it's cool because there's another one. Same with like content creation. If you post a video and it flops, it's fine, there's one later, right? Like that mentality has done a lot for me in progressing and also just like getting more things out.
Amazing. It's so interesting for me as someone who isn't I love seeing artists and being creative and being on stage and performing and writing because I don't have that talent. So it's always very impressive for me, but it's so interesting to hear this, like, and come back for you. And I think that it's really interesting. So my next question is, if you could take one album from another artist and claim it as your own, what would it be and why?
Oh, that is a great question. What do I think the best album is? I think I have an answer, and it's probably John Mayer's live album, Where the Light Is,
Mm,
because it is the fact that it was live, and
mm.
um how amazing it sounds and how talented he is as a performer and as a musician and a guitar player. I think he like I wish I could play a guitar, as good as John Mayer's. I'm sure a lot of guitarists can relate.
If you were stuck in an elevator with him and you could ask him one question, what would you ask him?
Hmm. I feel like if it was a real situation, I'd be too starstruck. I'd probably just be like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'd probably ask something really stupid. I'd be like, "How's your day going?" Be like, "Good, man." Anyways, but I don't know. I'd maybe want to know what he. Well, he's an interesting one. He's an interesting one because he had quite a famous kind of press explosion in the early 2010s. Like he had bad PR and stuff going around, and I think he's come out of that stronger and better. And he's someone with such a deep discography that the navigating that kind of thing, which isn't something I've ever had to deal with. Being small and independent and whatnot. How dealing with that crazy different mental load and that different pressure from like real public, like being in LA, being all this stuff, like that would be really interesting. Probably much longer than an elevator ride could answer.
You'd have to cut it out quickly.
Yeah.
When you've written a song, for you like one day, do you know the second it's done, it's going to connect with people? Have you just got a gut feeling, or are you still like you have no idea when you're going to release that how it's going to do?
I think I think one day was one we were pretty sure would do good. And to be fair, like one day started like that's my friend Mark and I, like we both did that one. He actually started that idea at his, like he had sort of like a verse and chorus thing, brought me in, and ended up we wrote the song together for what it is. And he came, one of the first things we said about it is he wants to make a sterile playlistable pop song. But then it also has these words that the core idea of it started from him and he really cared about it. So it's kind of funny in that regard because like the words like sterile or things that I'd be like, oh, you try and maybe think of your art as grander than it is in some ways, but it's really interesting to hear, that kind of thing, which he is a producer first, but yeah, I think one day was one that we're like, yeah, I think that could do really well. And I think Screwed as well, I had some hope with. I spent a lot of time on Screwed as well. So it's one of those things like it probably like it's probably like an 8 month journey, which is longer than most songs. And at that point you're like really hoping it does well. But yeah, I think there's an inkling, but you never know for sure, honestly. Like the next song coming out is a EDM collab actually that is the first song coming out under AJ that I'm not singing on, which is interesting. It's new. It's one of those things, but it's like I kind of have that feeling like I think it could do well. It's sort of like a Millennium style, and so things like that, certain kinds of songs playlist better, right? Like if you
Yeah.
made lo-fi music or house music, there's so many playlists. There's so many
Yeah.
things, and when you're starting out though, that's a big way to get traction and streams and stuff. So yeah,
I,
but you
I,
never know.
I can say this, and I know you won't like this, but I can really see you collaborating with some global artists in the future and them learning from you. I can really see it now, and I want to kind of explore some of that artistic vision and the kind of your creative ambitions and reflections so far. And obviously, you're Canadian in Canada as well. So, what's one music idea you've always wanted to try but haven't been brave enough to attempt yet?
Yeah. I would say, as far as records are concerned, like making songs and that side, there's a Canadian band called Mariana's Trench who I adore deeply. And they, one of the things they do on pretty much every record is they're known for the first song and the last song being like extravagant. Like they're like through composed, multiple sections, like 7 minute songs. This like crazy long, almost like self-indulgently long, but like they're amazing. They're really good. They'll have like full orchestras, like it's the full thing. And that's something that I think is really dope. And it's something that I think, years ago before you release stuff is like something that would be amazing to try. But, I have so much respect for them. And I also like exploring new lanes and there's nothing wrong with taking stuff from what other artists are doing and putting your spin on it and trying to do that, but it's one of those things, if I ever did, like in my heart I know it's something that I only would have got from them. If I do that, I would want to do it like perfect. I would want to put absolutely everything into that or one of those songs. So that's probably one of them. And then the other creative journey would just be like live. I'm really excited for that. As soon as I have this next like project out, it's like that starts, which is
Mhm.
something I haven't actually played as AJ live yet because I make full band music and I'm just one person, right? It's harder to
It's very Tame
yeah.
Impala like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and like same thing with shows. I want to do them like proper, like big. Like, I'm gonna have a drummer, gonna play with tracks, gonna have to get, another guitarist and just like do it. So it takes a bit more work, but yeah, that's probably what's
In that situation, I like for me, I'm a bit of a control freak as it is. So having someone else play your part on different instruments, is that something where you would enjoy that and learn off them? Or for myself, I think that's like my worst nightmare. If they make a mistake, I'd be onto it straight away.
Yeah, I think well the people that I have the band mostly locked in now, and they're people that I actually went to university with that like it was for music, and these are really talented people that that do this, and I've known them for a while. Like the drummer that I have, he's like my favorite drummer that I know. Like I love how creative he is, and so when I can trust someone, I love being able to be like, cool, this is like the idea that I have. Do you on it and see what that's like, whether that's studio or live or whatever. But it is really important to get those people you trust. And honestly, I think I'd be more worried for me almost. Like I spent so much time in this hole in the ground working on stuff that translating that energy live, especially just like playing guitar and singing and all that stuff. I'll be so focused on me.
That that for me is so interesting to point to touch upon there because as a fan of music, it's about how I feel and how that song makes me feel. For you playing that song, you've probably listened to that song best part of three, four, 500 times at least. And I feel like, and as an artist, you'd be so in your head about how that comes across, but an audience member would never notice, would
Yeah,
they?
yeah. It's true. It's true. And it's easy. Like I think when you're performing specifically as well, you're probably so locked into performing that you're almost just hoping that the sum of all the parts comes together how you want it to. Like I'll be running the in-ear rig, which gives me some piece that because I'm totally a control freak too. I totally am. And so being able to just, okay, one less thing that I have to worry about, right? If your in-ears are not the right mix and all that stuff. But you're not in the room, right? Like you're still trusting the venue and the engineer at front of house. And so there's a bit of faith with that, but I think live's also really fun because it isn't perfect, and you're trying to replicate the record, but it's never gonna sound like that. Like the margin of error is larger in the sense of if you miss a note or if the tone of everything isn't perfect, it's going to sound different in every venue you play it in. So it's okay, and people love that though. What's amazing is the energy. Like that's what you don't get on a record the same. Like obviously you turn your headphones up, but
That's the one thing I've learned over the last 9 years working with musicians is how much the environment can change sound. You can play precisely the same, but you put that in different environments, whether it's the size of room, the PA, or however many things. It's vibrations, isn't it? So it really alters what people hear. And it's really the craziest thing I've ever seen. I don't know if you've experienced this, is how much a song changes from sound check to live performance. And I remember speaking to the sound team about this, and they were like, "Well, yeah, Josh, because there's 1,000 bodies in the state in the crowd now, and it changes it massively. You can do a sound check and get a rough idea, but actually putting all those people in the room, it's going to completely change again." And it was like, wow. Wow, like, it's seeing that firsthand for me was crazy. I'd never experienced anything like that. But as a non-musician, it's just not something you think about.
yeah, totally. It's funny. Like everyone, yeah, the bodies absorb sound. Or in Canada, if it's like winter, everyone has big puffy coats on or something. Like, you know, it is really funny. It is really funny. But
Right.
it's kind of amazing. Like all the best experiences, I think, like live music still trumps in so many ways. Like I love records and I love making it. That's my favorite part. if I could just be in here forever, I might, right? If no one forced me out. But on the same hand, like it's so that's like where when it starts to feel magical, right? Like I've been to live shows where you're just like, that is amazing. Like it's these people are phenomenal. They're like, it's a whole experience, and that's like even like the mentality I want to take into live is like I just want to give everything. Like the last song that I already know what the last song will be of the set and of the EP, and I feel like it goes really hard. It's really high and it's a lot to sing and it's a lot to do. And like I would just like every night I'd just be like, I'm gonna give it 110%, and if I cack, whatever. I'm gonna just like give
And
whatever that
that
is.
energy is so like it's contagious. That's the word I would use. It's contagious, I feel like.
Yeah, when the people on stage start feeding to the crowd and the crowd starts feeding back, and it's like sick. Now we're at a show. Now we're like really doing something. It's a whole everyone's united in that. That's the best part of it. Which it'll be interesting to see if I can make that happen. Right? It'll be interesting. It's just
Live music, it's what it's about, that learning curve. As a musician, what's the best piece of advice you've been given, and why do you think it stuck with you?
hmm. I think one of the one that immediately came to mind. It's maybe even more related to life in general, and it was in one of my first year at music school, and it was from this teacher, John McMillan. Shout out John. Super talented. He did film scoring in LA, worked on Marvel movies. Super, super great guy. Um, and he said, take a moment to be human about it and then get to work. Basically, that was about like if you're freaking out about something, if something's happened, take a moment, be human about it, have your reaction, and then get to work. And that's been pretty much what's carried me through so much things, right? There's always setbacks. All we do up here is fail, right? Like constantly. It's making a song doesn't do as good as you hoped it would. Or you know what I mean? Like you're just not there yet. You're still working. Numbers aren't there yet. It doesn't sound as good enough yet. And so you go out and maybe you'll get wins along the way. It's awesome. But then when you have that setback, it's like, okay, that sucks. What can I learn from it? Let's go again. Like that is, yeah, probably the
No,
best.
it's an amazing, amazing piece of advice, I have to say. So, what's the hardest lesson you've had to learn about the music industry so far?
Mm, hardest lesson. I think the earlier, well, maybe this isn't true in all cases, but for me, I think the earlier I accepted that like no one's gonna do it for you, or no one can do it for you, I think the better, because it's easy to, I mean, it's a great thing to lean on people and trade IOUs and all these things to try and get everyone to go further, but like you have to be the one working on it. You have to be the one showing up every day, and that's it can be hard and it can be a lot, but on the same hand, it's it simplifies things a little bit, and it's when you take even if you take responsibility for more things that aren't necessarily your fault, I think it feels better because it makes it feel more within your control than if you're just blaming the music industry, blaming major labels, blaming all these things. It's like, cool, yes, but you know, like,
I love that. What an amazing bit of advice. And I do these big university talks and I see students and it's a shell shock to them because they've gone through college, university, and everyone cares about their music because their teachers have to and the students have to. And they leave education and no one cares. And they find it really disheartening. And I say to them, that should empower you. You are starting afresh. No one's bias is coming and no one's opinion is here. You can have full creative freedom, see it as a positive. It's a beautiful thing that no one cares.
yep.
It's a shock to the system, but beautiful thing.
Yeah, and something that Jay said to me, like of LMS UK, he's amazing. He's amazing. But he was saying how it's a superpower also not to care what people think. It's like both ways. It's great having that fresh start and then also being like, and I'm not going to be overconsumed with it. I'm just going to post if it's stupid videos, but I like them and it's what reflects me. Cool. That's what I'm going to do. Or write all of the art, but you're so right about that. Like there's a lot of really really amazingly talented musicians that I knew in school, and then it it was a lot of the program was contemporary and jazz, and so there was a lot of like jazz heads, a lot of people that are very talented, but they really care about that, and not in a not to say like, oh, they're all snobby and they're all like that, but there's like it felt like to them, I think they're like in this other upper echelon of music, right? Like you're people who've studied some of the highest level of theory in the nation, or things like that. You can do stuff that other people can't do with this really hard music, but it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden you leave the sphere of other jazz musicians and it's like, oh,
Mm.
I gotta adjust. And like what a career looks like is so different from like that university experience. And like the guy Mark, even who was with One Day, he ended up doing a diploma exit. Hope he doesn't mind me talking about him like this, but he did a diploma exit. But I think he totally got ahead because he spent time, and instead of the money going towards that, he spent time learning more things online and upgrading his space, his studio, monitors, and like he got in there doing internships and getting ahead. Where, then you spend another 2 years finishing a degree. Those 2 years don't necessarily get you further in what you're actually trying to do as far as the commercial contemporary market.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been an incredible conversation, and I want everyone listening to this to go follow Approach Tube, to go check out the music. It's so incredible on Spotify, but whatever. Go and check it out because it is absolutely fantastic. Great music deserves great conversation. This was no exception. Approach Tube, so thank you so much for coming on the music podcast. It has been a pleasure to have you on here. I know in the next few years it's going to go incredibly well for you. We'll have you back at that stage if you'll have us. Thank you so much for
Absolutely, it'll be a
coming
good
on.
time. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And everyone at home, make sure you check it out, and we'll see you very soon.